Hi everyone! My name is Grace and I am going to show you my fall TBR today. So I don't really like to do monthly TBRs because I'm such a mood reader that it really just changes and I really just kind of pick things up as I go. I don't really plan things out necessarily, but I do like to do fall TBRs. Like I like to think of books in a season, and a lot of books feel very fall or feel very winter or spring or summer to me. So I like watching these types of videos so I can get more ideas and more like book recommendations, I guess, for things I would maybe want to read in an upcoming season. So that's kind of the vibe of this video. So basically today I'm just going to take you through my entire fall TBR. Most of this is going to be stuff that I actually have on my physical TBR because I do want to prioritize finishing that before the year's up. But there are a couple of things that I don't own physically, but that I do want to read because they're kind of like fall specific or just feel fall to me, or they're upcoming releases. So we'll kind of touch on that towards the end. And most of the things I have, like, I feel like you can kind of see where I'm coming from, like, oh, like it does seem like a fall book because it's fantasy, or it's like just kind of has that vibe. But some of them are just purely like I'm just ready to kind of read this soon so I can get it off my TBR, and I'll talk about those as they come. I don't know, I changed the background today because I kind of wanted to change of pace. All my walls like really look like I'm in a prison cell because I live in the basement of my house, so it's kind of hard to get like good lighting and get good background stuff in here that doesn't all kind of look the same. So I apologize for that, but I'm not like that sorry about it. Okay, so let's jump in and get started. Some of these are like the first book in a series, and even like some of the ones that I actually have the whole series, I only included the first book because I really just kind of want to start all the series that are on my physical TBR before the year's up so that I can feel motivated to continue them, because I think it's like more daunting to start a series, but once you do it you're kind of like, oh yeah, like I can see myself reading this. So I guess we'll start with the things that kind of don't feel very fall but are just kind of like randomly on my TBR. There's only two that I think kind of fit into that category. They're not fantasy and they're not like necessarily fall. They don't have like fall covers, they don't have anything, but they're just ones that I've been wanting to read. So the first one that I really want to read is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I really want to read this. It's been on my TBR for a really long time. I've had it like physically for a while too, and I just haven't gotten into it, and I don't really know why. I think I just haven't really been in the mood, and it's also been a little bit intimidating to me. I love literary fiction. It's like, well, I don't know, is this considered, I'm not sure what is considered literary fiction and what is considered just like contemporary fiction or just general fiction. Like to me it's all the same thing, but maybe it's not. I don't know like how there is actually like a distinction, so I don't know technically what this is. I would call this literary fiction, but I could be totally wrong, so correct me if I am. But to me, this is literary fiction, and it's like one of my favorite genres. I really like just reading general fiction, but I haven't started this for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I feel like I'm gonna like it. I think I've just been intimidated by it because I've seen a lot of really good things, and then I've seen a couple of things that are maybe not so good about it, but I am really interested in reading this. What I think it's about is like two friends that are both authors, and one of them is white and one of them is Asian, but then the white author like steals the Asian author's work, and it's kind of all supposed to be like a take on like the publishing industry and kind of like some of the things that are a bit backwards about the publishing industry. So I think that'll be really interesting. I like hearing stuff like that. I've never read any R.F. Kuang books, but all of her books are on my TBR. I want to read The Poppy Wars, and I also want to read Babel too. That one really intimidates me, but maybe one day I'll read it. Okay, the other one that definitely is like not a fall book necessarily, but I do really want to read is The Black Flamingo by Dean Ada. I don't know too much about what this is about, but I know that it is written in prose, which really fascinates me. I love poetry. I really liked Poet X, which is like a similar thing where it's a story told in prose. I've had this for a long time. I've heard amazing things about it, and I'm really excited to read this. I don't know too much about what this is about, but I know it like takes place in a school. I know that it's like LGBTQ youth. It takes place in London, and it talks about like this person's experience as a Black queer young adult, basically. I think it takes place in a school, but I could be wrong. Like, I think they're in high school. Maybe not. I actually don't know. I think it's because it's reminding me of the Poet X, and that takes place in a school. Like, she's in high school, and I really want to read it for that because I think it'll have the same vibes. I don't really know if any of what I just said makes sense, but we're gonna go with it. So next is kind of a cheat because it's something I'm currently reading paired with something, the following book, but I'm currently reading Dance of Thieves. I've like barely read any of it, like, as you can see, and I would love to also read Vow of Thieves after that. I think I originally heard this, heard about this duology from Carrie Can Read, and I think she really liked it. I could be wrong though. I'm really excited to finish this. I'm kind of in like a weird world building stage right now, so I'm not like super into it, but hopefully when I can like sit down and read like big chunks of this, hopefully I'll like it more. And then I've heard this one is like amazing. I've heard the first one's like pretty good, but I've heard this one's really, really good. So I'm really excited to read this. It feels very fall. It feels very like fall fantasy vibes. And I'm just hoping I can knock this off my TBR. I've had it for a while, and I've heard such good things. Hopefully I really love them. After I read this, I want to pick up the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I really wanted to read the Dance of Thieves duology first because I saw someone recently who read Powerless first and really loved it, and then read Dance of Thieves afterwards and didn't really like it because apparently this author, her favorite series ever is Dance of Thieves, and you can tell she took a lot of that, or like Powerless was really inspired by Dance of Thieves, and so it kind of like makes Dance of Thieves not as good if you read this one first. I have no good reason as to why I haven't picked this up yet because I've heard amazing things. I am a little more hesitant now because I've heard less amazing things about Reckless from like Destiny and Rachel, and I think those are the only two that I've actually like seen talk about how they felt about Reckless, but I've heard less good things about that, so I'm kind of a little bit more hesitant to read this now. If you don't know what it's about, I don't know how, because I feel like everyone talks about this and I feel like everyone but me has read it. It's YA fantasy, and I've heard it's very like there's a game, there's like a trial, and everyone in this world has magic except for the main character, and she's been like faking having magic, which I don't really know how, but I guess when I'll read it, I'll be able to let you know. Another like random fantasy series that I want to start is the Renegades trilogy. I have all three, but I've only like have this one on my TBR because I figured if I read it and like it, I can read the other two like in the winter, or maybe I'll read it right away, who knows. I do really want to read this. It is by Marissa Meyer, who I believe she also did the Cinder, I'm not really sure what the series is called, but it's like Cinder and Winter and Scarlet, like kind of like sci-fi fairy tale retellings. I'm hoping this is going to be good because I've heard really good things about it. It's basically like superheroes and enemies. I don't really know much about it, I have to be so honest. Let me read the back. That helped me not at all, but hopefully this is good. I've heard really good things about it, and I'm very excited to pick it up. I've been meaning to for like so long, and I just haven't, and I really don't have any other reason as to why. This is like the only thing I have on my list that's like the start of a series and the second one other than like the duology, but I really want to read Finding 13 and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. It just feels like fall to me. I know that it's like rugby, but rugby makes me think football, which makes me think like September football season, and I don't think that that has anything to do with these books, but that's just like what it reminds me to. I also know that this takes place in a school. I think they're in college, maybe they're in high school, but I feel like they're in college, like early college. I could be wrong, but anything that like takes place in school like feels like a very back to school to me, and even though I'm not going back to school this year, I feel like it's a vibe and I want to read these, and they have been on my list for so long and I really want to get into them. I like the UK covers a lot more, and if you saw my last video, which was my UK book haul, you should go watch it. But I got these, and I'm hoping that I really like this series because I hate having incomplete series on my shelves, so I hope I like these books so I can buy the rest of them and like the way they look on my shelves too. This is actually like a pretty long series, and all of the books are like 800 pages. Like, it doesn't really look 800 pages, but they literally are. Like, they are long books. Everyone I've heard say that they didn't pick up this series and like until they did was because they were intimidated by the size of them, but then they like read them and they were like, oh my gosh, it like flies by. Like, you don't even like realize that you've read like 400 pages and then you have. And it'll make my page count for the year go up. Not that I really care about that, but it is kind of like a cool thing to see at the end of the year. Like, oh, I read 20 million pages. This one definitely is a fall book, and I have had this for a while and I haven't read it, but this is Crumbs by Danny Sterling, I think is how you say their name. It is a like witchy graphic novel, and I've heard such good things about this. I really like graphic novels. I really liked the Heartstopper series, and it's kind of a cheat, but I do count these towards my reading goal, and it's a really like fast way to add more books to your reading goal for the year. So I'm really excited to get into this. It feels very fall, very witchy. I want to read this now, but like part of me is like, I feel like I should save this for October when it's like actually like really feeling the fall vibes. But I really want to read this now. It's so cute. Like, it just looks so fresh. I think it's like a love story between this girl who's a witch and this guy who is not a witch. I think it's YA, so it seems pretty tame, but I'll let you know once I'm done if it's good for all ages. Next one is also really random. I honestly don't know why I have this, but it is Unbreak Me by Michelle Hazan. This is a cowboy romance. I believe it's part of a series or a duology. I know there's at least a second one, but I don't know if there's a third. I'm honestly not sure why I picked this up. I think I found it on Reddit of all places. I know this is like an angsty cowboy romance is what I've heard, but I am not 100% sure. Well, I love the cover. Like, I love the sky. I know that the girl, I think the girl in the story was like assaulted in college, and then the guy in the story, he is maybe Hispanic. Oh, he's Haitian. He is a Haitian Creole cowboy from New Orleans. Talks about his struggles with like racism in the South, and then her struggles with having been assaulted in college. So I've heard it's like kind of angsty, and I love that. So hopefully this will be really good. I hope it's done in like a good way and not in like a using trauma as a plot device. I don't know why my copy is like has like a Sharpie line through it, because I got this on Amazon, so I'm not really sure, but it does. Next is another one I'm really excited about. It is Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Hawaguchi, I think is how you say their name. I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold and I loved it. If you don't know, this is like the second in the series. It's this one, and then there's two more, but I do not know what they're called. And they're so cute. Like, they're really like short and sweet, really fast reads. Like, I think I read the other one in a day. It was so simple to read. This to me, like, I don't know if it takes place in the fall, but the color like makes me feel like it does. Also, like, just the vibes, like the cat and the clock and anything that takes place like solely in a coffee shop feels like fall to me. Also, these books like make me feel like I'm such an adult like reading this. Like, it looks like so like, what is she reading? You know what I'm saying? I hope I like that series because I'm hoping to read the other ones too, and I just think that that would be cool. So also, like I said before, I hate having incomplete series on my shelves, so I really hope I like it so that I can get the other ones too, because I want to have a full set, not just half of it. The next book I want to read is one I should have read a long time ago, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I have not read any Frida McFadden. I haven't really read many thrillers. The only thriller I think I've ever read is The Silent Patient, and that one was fine, but I'm just like not a huge thriller person, I don't think, as of now. But I'm hoping that I can get into thriller because I'm always jealous of the people who do read thrillers. I feel like everyone I watch on like BookTube and Book Talk are like romance and thriller girlies, and I like romance, but I'm not like a thriller person yet, and I feel like I should be. I love scary movies, I love horror movies, I love true crime, so I feel like I'll like it. I've heard really good things about the second in this series too, but I haven't heard great things about the third. I'm scared of this, but it feels like a perfect fall vibe, like scary, like curling up with a little mystery. So I'm hoping I'll like this and then I can become a thriller girl, because there's a lot that I want to read. I've heard Freida McFadden specifically has really good thrillers. I've just never read them, and maybe that'll change soon. Maybe I'll become a thriller girl. So 2 other romances I really want to read that feel very fall to me are Assistant to the Villain. I really want to read this. I've heard mixed things, but most of what I've heard is good. Very like cozy, spooky romance. Like, I know he's the villain and she falls for him, I'm pretty sure. I know there's a second one coming out, or maybe it just came out. I'm not really sure. I haven't heard anyone talk about that, but I do want to read this. I think it would be a really good book for the fall. It is very floppy, I will say. So that's already pretty good. And then the next romance I want to read is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I have not read any Ali Hazelwood before. I have, what's the first one? The Love Hypothesis. I have that one. I haven't read it yet. I only want to read it because I really want to read Love Theoretically. And like I said, I can't start in the middle of the series. Like, I feel like that's wrong. I really want to read this. I've heard it's either like you absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. I know like Destiny didn't really like it, but I know Heather McLary like loves this book. So hopefully I like it. I think this is like vampire werewolf. Yeah, an alpha werewolf form a dangerous alliance. That sounds crazy. I've never been like into paranormal romance. I've never read it, to be fair. And I don't know if this is considered dark romance. I believe there is some like kinky stuff that happens, but I don't know if it's like dark. But above all else, I do believe it'll be entertaining. Like, even if I don't like the romance or I don't like some aspects of it, I do believe that it's going to be entertaining. So hopefully I will enjoy it because of that. Next, I really want to read Circe. This is by Madeline Miller, who also wrote Song of Achilles, which I believe is more popular. I liked the Song of Achilles, but I didn't love it the way that like I feel like everyone else loved it. I knew the story going into it, and maybe that's why like I knew what happened at the end. Song of Achilles didn't make me cry. Like, I didn't read it and sob at the end, and at that time when I read it, I would like cry at everything. I don't really anymore. I feel like I don't ever get emotional at books, but at that time I was crying at like the drop of a hat. So for it to not make me cry, I feel like it's kind of like meh. I don't remember what I rated it. I don't really even know if I did rate it, because like Song of Achilles was good, like, and the writing was beautiful. Like, it was some of the most beautiful prose, like some of the most beautiful like lyricism in a book I've ever read, but I just didn't love it and didn't make me cry. But Circe, however, I am really interested because I do like the original story, and I think that this one is going to be like a little bit more my jam. But it is a Greek mythology retelling. I love Greek mythology. I also know Madeline Miller is apparently working on a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I would love that. I would also love Madeline Miller to write a Medea retelling. I know Medea is not a god, but and that's like most of what she's done is like demigods and gods. Maybe just because it's like orange, it feels fall, but it also is just like the vibes. Also, this is really sweet. My boyfriend's sister got this for me. I don't remember what it was for. I think it was Christmas. Like, I think she wanted to get me a gift, and maybe like my boyfriend just sent her like books that I had been wanting. I'm not really sure, but I know she got it for me, and that is so sweet. Devin, if you're watching, thank you. I really want to read Magnolia Parks. I have the whole series. If you watched my last video, you know. But I want to at least start this. I don't think I'll read the whole series by the end of the year, let alone by the fall. This one I would love to start. It just feels like something I could maybe achieve realistically. Damn, I didn't realize like these things are huge. If you don't know what this is, it's like kind of like toxic relationship drama. It's very Gossip Girl, very like Sex and the City vibes, which I love. So, well, I've never seen Sex and the City, but I have seen Gossip Girl, and that one's pretty good. But it takes place in London, so how fitting that I bought it in London. I've actually heard this one is usually people's least favorite because the couple in it is very toxic, but I've heard Daisy Hates is really, really good, and that's when people really fall in love with the series. So I need to read this in order to get to that one. And like I said, I feel like for me the hardest thing is starting a series, and then once I'm in the series I like want to read it and continue reading it, but the hardest part for me is actually starting a series. I just want to start this and kind of see what the hype is all about, see what everyone's talking about. I know Rachel Catherine loves this. I know Sarah Caroli like really loves the Magnolia Park series. I'm pretty sure it's like her favorite series ever. The next thing, like this is so random and I kind of don't want to read this book. I want to keep it on my bookshelves because I love the cover and I love the series, like the way it looks on my shelf. I don't love the series, like the actual series, but I like the way it looks, and I'm a vain person and I want it on my shelves. So I feel like I have to read this, but it is Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This series is weird. Basically, like the format of it is not in a traditional book. It's kind of like told through a series of different files and documents, and you kind of have to piece the story together on your own. The first one is Illumine, and then Gemina, and then Obsidio is this one. I read the first two, obviously. I liked the first one like fine, like it was not super interesting to me. And then the second one I didn't really like at all, but the third one I feel like I'm not gonna like, but I just want to read it just to kind of get it out of the way because I'm sick of like it being on my shelves and being like I haven't read that book yet, but it's on my shelves, so I just needed to read it. And I don't think it'll take me super long. Like I remember the other ones didn't really take me that long to read. Apparently the audio books of this series is really good, but I don't love this. I would also say if you're gonna buy these books, buy them used because I'm not sure of all the details, but I do know that Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff have been exposed for some problematic stuff in the past, so I would do some research on that before you buy these. I bought all of these used. Okay, so those are all the physical books that I have that are on my TBR, and now we can talk about some books on my TBR that I don't own but would like to get, even though I'm not supposed to be buying any more books, but what can you do? A book that I really want to read but I don't own, it literally just came out yesterday, is The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava, I believe is how you say her name. Apparently this is the first traditionally published romance novel by an indigenous author, which I think is really awesome. I heard about this from Sarah Read That on TikTok. I can link her down below. I believe she may also have a YouTube channel, but I could be wrong. It's basically about this girl Ember who is like half white, half native, and when she originally fills out, like she's applying for jobs and she originally fills out that her ethnicity is native, and then she's not getting any like interviews and she's not getting hired anywhere, and then she basically refills out all these applications and puts that she's white instead of native, and all of a sudden she like has a job. And then she goes to this job and she sees this guy there who is also native, and they kind of become friends and start to like each other, but they can't date because of a new dating policy at their job. That's pretty much all I know about it. It looks really cute and the cover looks really cute, and it just kind of gives fall vibes to me. I really want to read it. Another book I really want to read that just screams fall vibes to me because it literally fell on the cover is Fall Into You by Caroline Frank, I believe. I'm pretty sure I got this recommendation from Shaughnessy. I have no idea what this is about, and I don't really feel like looking it up. I can't remember if Shaughnessy had read it or not, but I know someone else also recommended it to me too. But it just looks like a cute little fall romance. I think it's like a brother's best friend trope. I'm not really sure, but it just looks cute and I would love to read it. So, and the last thing that I really want to read this is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. It looks so cute. Like it looks a little cheesy, but also it looks so cute. And I think there's a second one that isn't out yet called The Cinnamon Bun Cafe. I think it comes out in September or October. And then there's also a third one that I think comes out in November called like The Christmas Tree Farm or something. I would love to like have been able to read like The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, The Cinnamon Bun Bookshop, and then The Christmas Tree Farm in winter. I think that would be so cute. It looks so cute. It just looks very like fall. I've heard it's very like Stars Hollow. I mean, the author's name is Lori Gilmore, which I'm pretty sure is just a pen name because isn't that the girl's name from Gilmore Girls? The mom? I've never watched Gilmore Girls. It looks cute and I really want to read it, so it's on my TBR and I'm hoping that I can get around to it soon. Hopefully I have the money to buy it. Okay, that's basically my fall TBR. I know this video is like a little longer than usual, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope maybe you found some books you could read this fall. If you want to let me know what books you're trying to read this fall, let me know and I would love to read them. So I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.